تفضل يا شيخ ابن.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Continue with Tafsir As-Si'di, and today is the lesson 36. We read from ayah 1660, the meaning of which is it? No. And remember when Musa asked for water for his people, we said, struck the stone with your stick, then gushed forth therefrom 12 springs. Each people knew its own place for water. Eat and drink of that which Allah has provided, and do not act corruptly, making mischief on the earth.
نعم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. We are on the 15th of Ramadan, and lesson number 36. And I believe that the translation so far is pretty decent. The translation is pretty decent. But we're going to take a look, inshallah Azza wa Jal, at what Imam As-Si'di or As-Sa'di. Both ways are correct to pronounce, by the way. We have heard from some of the Mashayikh, and our Sheikh Salih As-Sindi, he says As-Sa'di, as I recall. And when you hear from some of our Mashayikh, they say As-Si'di. And both of them are correct, inshallah. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Shaykh Abdul Rahman rahimahullah says, Musa prayed for water from which they could drink. We said, strike the rock with your staff. This refers either to a specific rock that was known to him or to any rock. Then 12 springs gushed forth from it. The number of Israelite tribes was 12. And each tribe among them knew its own drinking place among these springs, so that there would be no pushing and shoving. Rather, they would be able to drink easily without any disturbance. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so eat and drink of the sustenance provided by Allah, meaning that which comes to you without any effort on your part, and do not strive to spread mischief in the land. That is, do not try to cause ruin and spread mischief.
نعم, to cause ruin. تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. طيب. Regarding questions, you can put your questions and we will see if there is time to answer them or not. And sometimes I choose not to answer some questions, as you know. And remember, when Musa asked for water for his people. نعم. استسقى أي طلب لهم ماء. نعم. Sought water for his people. أي طلب لهم استسقى. طلب لهم ماء يشربون. Asked for water for his people. We said, strike the stone with your stick. Then gushed forth therefrom 12 springs. Each group of people knew its own place for water. Eat and drink of that which Allah has provided, and do not act corruptly, making mischief on earth. It should be on earth, not on the earth. On earth. طيب. And recall when Musa prayed for water for his people. نعم, prayed for water. استسقى. استسقى. أي طلب لهم ماء يشربون. طيب, wait. Now, Sahih International has said exactly what I was thinking. Wait. Let's see, Al-Imam Al-Allama Ibn Uthaymin. استسقى آية 60. Bismillah. Al-Imam Ibn Uthaymin said, استسقى لقومه أي واذكر إذ استسقى موسى لقومه أي طلب السقيا لهم، وهذا يعم كونهم في التيه يعم كونهم في التيه وغيره أو غيره. طيب طلب السقيا لهم، يعني exactly what الشيخ السعدي said. طلب السقيا, asked, or we can say sought water for his people. What do you think? Let's go to Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir, ayah number 60. حين نعم يقول واذكروا نعمتي عليكم في إجابتي, يعني remember my bliss upon you when I granted, يعني answered your prophet Musa when he استسقاني لكم, he sought, يعني سقيا, rain for you from me, وتيسيري لكم الماء, يعني sought water from me and I have made it easy for you. طيب, we will stick to what the Sheikh As-Si'di said. We will stick to what Sheikh As-Si'di said. So we're gonna say, and remember when Musa, yani Moses, sought water for his people. Sought water for his people. فَقُلْنَا, so we have to put so there. So we said, yani we are alluding that he sought it from Allah Azza wa Jal. So we said, strike with your staff the stone. فَضْرِبَ فَانْفَجَرَتْ مِنْهُ. So then, فَانْفَجَرَتْ مِنْهُ 12, gushed forth from it 12 springs. Then gushed forth from it 12 springs. قَدْ عَلِمَ, and then full stop, each group of, in parentheses, we can put it or in brackets, of people, group of, in brackets or parentheses, as you said, but we distinguish it from what As-Sa'di said. This is not what As-Sa'di said. People knew its own place of water. كل أناس مشربهم. Every people. Actually, in parentheses, when this is good, Sahih International, they put i.e. tribe. We can put in parentheses, actually, we say either a footnote or in parentheses, we say وَقَبَائِلُ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ 12 قَبِيلَةً, and the tribes of Bani Israel, the children of Israel, are 12 tribes. And then each group of people, each, or we're going to say each, in parentheses, tribe, each tribe of them, أو each tribe of people, and then another parenthesis, from them knew their place for water. Their place for water. كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ اللَّهِ, eat and drink of that which Allah has provided. Eat and drink from that which Allah has provided, and do not act corruptly, making mischief on earth. Naam, this is good. You got it? This is the translation. This is the translation. Naam. You got the translation? Use this one and we'll read it afterwards. The coming ayah is long, and its explanation, it has fawaid and so on. What we are going to do, when it comes to Ayah 61. We will read it. We'll read the explanation of Ayah 61. And maybe tomorrow, inshallah Azza wa Jal, we will translate the Ayah. Or maybe one of you can attempt to translate the Ayah, either Sheikh ibn Munir or ibn Junaid. And we see you tomorrow, inshallah Azza wa Jal. Anyway, تفضل يا شيخ ابن منير.
Ayah 61, the meaning of which is, and remember when you said, O Musa, we cannot endure one kind of food, so invoke your Rabb for us to bring forth for us of what the earth grows, its herbs, its cucumbers.
Wait. We have the translation. And remember when Musa sought water for his people, so we said, strike the stone with your stick. Then, should be a comma, then gushed forth from it 12 springs. Each, in brackets, 12 tribes of Bani Israel. No, this is exactly what Al-Imam As-Si'di said. So this should be parentheses, because it's Al-Imam As-Si'di. Each 12 tribes of Bani Israel tribe knew its own place for water. لا, we changed. قد علم كل أناس. You use the word tribe here. It should be people. So each people, and then we put in parentheses tribe, and we can put a footnote. We say the tribes of the children of Israel are 12 tribes. And this way we understand what it means. Okay, Sheikh ibn Junaid? No, its own place for water, eat and drink from that which Allah has provided, and do not act corruptly, making mischief on earth. Naam. Like this, it sounds Allahumma barik. Great, inshallah. Naam. Start over, barakallah fiqh, ayah number 61.
Assalamu alaikum. Ayah 61, the meaning of which is, and remember when you said, O Musa, we cannot endure one kind of food, so invoke your Rabb for us to bring forth for us of what the earth grows, its herbs, its cucumbers, its foam, in brackets, wheat or garlic, its lentils, and its onions. He said, would you exchange that which is better for that which is lower? Go you down to any town, and you shall find what you want. And they were covered with humiliation and misery, and they drew on themselves the wrath of Allah. That was because they used to disbelieve the ayat of Allah and killed the prophets wrongfully. That was because they disobeyed and used to transgress the bounds, in brackets, in the disobedience of Allah, i.e., commit crimes and sins.
نعم. And يعني فائدة in English, the H is silent. In herbs, you say herbs. Why? Because the H is silent. نعم.
Assalamu alaikum. Shaykh Al-Sa'di rahimahullah says, what it meant is, remember when you said to Musa, by way of expressing boredom with the blessings of Allah and stoning them, O Musa, we cannot bear to eat only one kind of food. Although, as we stated above, there were different types of food, the variety was limited. So pray to your Rabb for us to bring forth for us of what the earth produces, its herbs. The word translated here as herbs refers to plants other than trees, cucumbers, garlic, lentils, and onions. Musa said to them, would you exchange that which is better?
Again,
namely,
what? بقلها, he said, أي نباتها الذي ليس بشجر يقوم على ساقه. Meaning that there are not trees that are يعني erect, that stand upon a stem or upon trunks. So again, read it. بقلها, meaning it's
Now, the word, Shaykh Abdul Rahman continues, the word translated here as herbs or herbs refers to plants other than trees, cucumbers, garlic, lentils, and onions. Musa said to them, would you exchange that which is better, namely the manna and salwa, for that which is inferior, namely the foods mentioned? This is not befitting for you, because the foods you are asking for can be found in any town that you go down to. As for the food with which Allah has blessed you, It is the best and finest of food. So how can you ask for something else in its stead? Since their behavior was the greatest evidence of their lack of patience and their scorning the commands and blessings of Allah, He subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them an appropriate punishment. As He said, they were struck
نعم.
with humiliation.
Scorning, يعني meaning they belittled, احتقار. They belittled يعني what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. So now, humility is struck upon them. Look, subhanallah. الجزاء من جنس العمل. The punishment is of the same type of your actions. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Shaykh Abdul Rahman continues. Now, that could be seen in they were struck with the humiliation that could be seen in their physical appearance and wretchedness in their hearts, so that they had no self-respect or high ambitions. Rather, their souls were low and vile, and their aspirations were the worst of aspirations.
نعم. همم. A person of himmah. He has high aspirations and he acts upon it. Not just has high aspirations and he sits and does nothing. He has high aspirations and he acts upon them. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم.
And the Muslim should be so. Where did I get this from? Yal, who can tell me? From the ayah. Ali says staff, not stick in the ayah. اضرب بعصاك. نعم, you're right. Staff, not stick. نعم. طيب. Where did I get this? Do you know where I got it from? Ali also says, Sheikh Ali says, silent only in the US. We say herbs with a H. I will pronounce it like they pronounce it. Sound. طيب, okay. طيب, but I did not know. I did not know. I thought, يعني everyone says herbs. طيب, nobody got it, as it seems. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, هذا في محل الذم. هذا في محل الذم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them, is talking about them in a negative way. Meaning that a Muslim, his himmah should not be like them, like the kuffar, the disbelievers, and those who have scorned and belittled the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be the opposite, ya ikhwah. Therefore, don't say, and sometimes some people say, you study, you have work, you have family, you do, for example, some you work out, you do this, you do that. Some people, you have 3 jobs, you study, you have 2 wives, you have 3 families. How can you do all of this together? Ya akhi, you have himmah. He has himmah. That's how the Muslim should be. Has aspirations, he's active, he's not lazy, not reluctant, not sitting idly, waiting for things to be to fall from the sky for him. لا. نعم, مفهوم المخالفة. طيب, we have Ibn Junayd saying قوله تعالى فقلنا اضرب بعصاك الحجر. العصا معروفة والحجر المراد به الجنس فيشمل أي حجر يكون, وهذا أبلغ من قول بأنه حجر معين. وهذه العصا كان فيها 4 آيات عظيمة. أولا أنه يلقيها فتكون حية تسعى ثم يأخذها فتعود عصا. أنه يضرب بها الحجر فينفجر عيونا. ثالثا أنه ضرب بها البحر فانفلق فكان كل فرق كالطود العظيم. رابعا, نعم, this is on. When you call up, طيب, نعم, but let's change it then in the ayah to staff. يعني it's a big asa, not a small stick. Not to give that, نعم, that kind of tafsir. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Si'di continues by saying, they incurred the wrath of Allah, that is, they did not gain anything but the wrath of Allah. What a bad return, and what a bad situation they found themselves in. That, the reason why they deserved His wrath subhanahu wa ta'ala, was because they rejected the signs of Allah that pointed to the truth. When they rejected His signs, He punished them by becoming angry with them. That was also because they killed the prophets unjustly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says unjustly to emphasize the abhorrent nature of the crime. Otherwise, it is well known that killing a prophet can never be just or lawful. It also indicates that no one should think that they were ignorant or lacking in knowledge.
Allahu Akbar.
That was because...
Allahu Akbar. Did you notice the diamond that the Sheikh sent our way? ذلك بأنهم كانوا يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون النبيين بغير الحق. They killed the prophets without due right, falsely, with falsehood. طيب. What is the opposite of that? Killing the prophets lawfully? Can you kill a prophet lawfully? Yani would a prophet commit that which would make him deserve the punishment of being killed by his own people? These are the best of mankind. Of course not. There is no lawful killing of prophets. طيب, then what is this? Says زيادة شناعة. This is an increased. It is increased. It is not just abhorrent. It is an increase in that as well. It's not just horrific and terrible, to emphasize how terrible and abhorrent this is. And Imam says, وَإِلَّا فَمِنَ الْمَعْلُومِ. It is known from people that killing the prophets can never be with due right. Can never be with due right. Take this as a rule, ya akhwat. However, look at the diamond, huh? So that it would not be thought they did that out of ignorance and because they did not know. They knew. They killed them without right. They knew that they killed them without right. They knew that there is no right in killing the prophets. صفة كاشفة. أحسنتم يا ابن جنيد. صفة كاشفة. ذلك بما عصوا. This is their disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نعم. So they did that. ذلك بما عصوا. They ارتكبوا معاصي الله. They have done the disobedience to Allah عز وجل. وكانوا يعتدون. And they transgressed against the ibad of Allah عز وجل. Another diamond coming our way. Because disobedience leads, it pulls another disobedience and heedlessness from small sins lead you to major sins. Wallahi, this is what I always say, ya akhwa. This is what I always say, ya akhwa. Something that I believe a lot of people are blind to. Wallahi, ya akhwa, if we only benefit this today, it is sufficient. Contemplate at this. Contemplate at what I am going to say. المعصية تجر المعصية. A sin leads to another sin. It's like a chain, ya akhwa. It's like a chain. Once you sin, you're pulling the chain. You pull one part of the chain, and you're pulling towards you more of the chain itself. When you reject the truth from the first time you are told the truth, it leads you as a punishment for you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to more false understanding, to more bid'ah, to you becoming inside, in your heart, becoming a deviant person. You sin, it leads you to another sin. You fall into bid'ah, it leads you to another bid'ah. And I always say, ya akhwa, whenever, subhanallah, whenever I see someone diving into bid'ah, as a person, he himself, with time, we see that he becomes a what? A worse person. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Ya akhwa, focus and tell me, haven't you noticed this? A person takes a bid'ah lightly, especially bid'ah. He is taught, ya akhi, this is a bid'ah. Ya akhi, stay away from bid'ah. He says, what, everything is a bid'ah. And then once you ignore him because there's no use from him, as a person, he himself, you see that he starts cheating. His manners are no longer as good as they were. Subhanallah. And our insight, our basira, we start saying what? We start, this is what bid'ah leads to. Look, now you've become a worse person. You're not that person. You're not becoming better, not maintaining how good you were. No, you're becoming worse. You see change in his behavior to the worse. His priorities are not correct. What he's doing, and as if you inside of you say, subhanallah, there is lack of tawfiq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given. And you see in him. Subhanallah. Why? Bid'ah, ya ikhwan. Bid'ah. You might come and tell me, somebody might object and says, we're talking about sins here. Why are you talking about bid'ah? We say, then you haven't understood. Bid'ah are sins. Subhanallah. You haven't understood. Bid'ah are sins, ya ikhwa. So, but they are, in general, higher than major sins. If you really, if somebody's differentiating between sins and bid'ah, he didn't understand my famous word that I always say, he didn't understand anything about anything in the first place. In the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, ya ikhwa, bid'ah are sins. Major shirk is a sin. It is the biggest sin of all. Minor shirk is sin. Minor shirk, there are sins. Bid'ah are sins. Major sins are sins and minor sins are sins, ya ikhwa. Understand this. And the same thing, ya ikhwa, when it comes to minor sins. You keep ignoring them, they lead you to major sins. You keep indulging in major sins, you deviate. Ya ikhwa, never forget that turning away from Allah Azza wa Jal, committing major sins, committing bid'ah, your punishment can be from Allah Azza wa Jal. We seek refuge by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to make bid'ah and sins easier for you. Not just that. From the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as in Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in his explanation on Umdat al-Ahkam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes you what? Reject what you hear from the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes you what? Not benefit and not accept the truth instantly. Yani meaning what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes you dive even more into this sin that you're doing, which is rejecting from the first time the truth that you are hearing, or the bid'ah that you're doing, or the sins that you're doing, you increase in them. This is punishment. This is punishment. And notice it in your lives. Notice it in your lives, ya ikhwan. Notice how when a person rejects the truth, he becomes more and more deviant. Subhanallah. More and more deviant. When a person indulges in bid'ah, overall as a person, he becomes worse. When a person indulges in sins and major sins and so on, you see him so distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. We see these things in them. Adam al-Tawfiq. And then you see it in different aspects of life. And you see them complaining. At their work, in their family, their children, their health, their... Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Nah.
Ahsan Allahu ilaykum. Shaykh Abdurrahman rahimahullah continues. That was because of their disobedience in committing sin and transgression against the ibad of Allah. One sin leads to another. Negligence leads to minor sin, from which stems major sin, which in turn leads to various kinds of innovation, disbelief, and so on. We ask Allah to keep us safe and sound from all trials. Amen. These ayat are addressed to the Israelite community that existed at the time when the Quran was revealed.
Nah.
That
We
these
stop here.
refer to...
We stop here, insha'Allah. Azza wa Jal. Yeah. Inshallah Azza wa Jal, we will move on to the book of Tawheed. Bismillah. Naam, we will move on to the book of Tawheed, inshallah Azza wa Jal.